morning and welcome once again to Sunrise here on Channel TV. I'm Joke Rogers, and with me today is the delectable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I didn't get the memo. I would have tied my head.
Well, just to spice up things.
The Saturday.
Glad to be here. Thank you indeed for always keeping it a date with us on Sunrise. I am Yomi or Taigwe, and this week it was from my husband that, I remembered that the World Cup has started. And he just said, the World Cup has started, Nigeria is not there. In my mind, I said, okay, are we supposed to be there when we did not qualify? Or you're just missing the fact that Nigeria is not on that world stage?
Because really, when you think of it, the quality of games that Nigeria has played, even after not qualifying for the World Cup, you just realize that it's just like maybe being complacent or just not caring enough. The quality,
we need to do more.
The quality that I saw, we should have qualified for this World Cup. They play well. The friendlies they played with Portugal and one other team. And you've seen that the boys can actually play well. The game with Portugal, the friendly, was actually an excellent game, if you ask me. But there you are. And, there's been a lot of praise for our coach, Eric Schell, that he's doing a fantastic job. We just hope that he will still be kept. But then that opening game, Yomi, South Africa, Mexico.
South Africa 0. Mexico 2. And a lot of people are happy. I don't know why. Or maybe I know why. I don't want to say why.
Well, we should actually lay it on the table because it's one of the trending topics of the week. You do know that on Thursday, I believe, Nigerians were voluntarily repatriated from South Africa, because of the issues, the xenophobic issues there. And it was not just about Nigeria. I think it's about there's a call that Africans should not be
continent
attacking
each
other, and so a lot of people tended to support Mexico just for
that reason.
For that reason, to pass a message that you can't be doing things like that, and people were happy. But when
it started, some people felt that they were talking about the illegal migrants and all of that. But you see some stories of people who actually have valid papers, and still, they are asked to leave. They are being persecuted. They are being harassed, assaulted, and everyone has said that is bad, and I know that is bad.
Yes,
we have to live together. We have history together. I don't know if we have to go back to how it was and how we are now, then you know that it's certainly not the way it should be. And, we can all do better, particularly in this case, South Africa.
And speaking of, the World Cup, since that's where we started, some of our stars here, musical stars here in Nigeria, performed there. The opening ceremony, we had Burna Boy perform with Shakira. And then, of course, the pre-opening concert, Davido performed his songs. And on his jacket, you will see a lot of badges there. You wonder what those badges were. They're the names of your kidnapped victims, all the names, including the teachers and the pupils. They're all there. I think you wanted to pass a message that, we're thinking about you.
This is what is going on, and we need these children and the teachers to come back home to us safe and sound. Even though one of our ambassadors, Ambassador Reno Mokri, said he made a mistake, that, this is fueling what the terrorists want, and there's a line that we need to draw. We need those people back home. If you look at, I can hardly watch, finish watching any of those videos that the principal, that they make her do. And it's so disheartening. It is so sad. You don't know the condition that those children are, the teachers, and to think that they live every day, 29 days in captivity today. And it is terrible. And I think we can do more as a government, even though they will tell you they are doing all that they need to do. But if you're doing everything and we can't see the result, then as far as we're concerned, you haven't done anything.
Yes, but there's an update from that, really. I think, because I know that, I think up a week or so, last week, the Air Force visited Governor Makinde, so they're working hand in hand for air surveillance to know where, the terrorists are, where they're keeping them. And as of this morning, I understand that the governor said that they're at the old Oyo National Park. So there's some progress in
So when we know where they are, what is next? Of course, they will not share with us, security details, but we just want them back. 29 days. That's about a month.
Yeah, it is about a month.
It's heart-wrenching because it is not what should be. We have gone through this over the years. Some of us, we have become so accustomed to it that when it happens, we are just numb. Some other people just feel that, the government needs to do more. The government needs to do more, and that is the pure truth.
Pure truth. Well, there's a warning from the president, although we'll get into that when we start our program, to bandits and kidnappers: desist or face the full wrath of the Nigerian state.
And that full wrath is what we are all waiting for.
Yes.
We want to see it. We want to see that action.
Yes.
We want to see that, you're going home, you're not having your heart in your mouth, or you're very scared because you don't know what could happen anywhere. Anyway,
a lot of people have criticized, in the history of the country, the 5.41 trillion naira defense
security
budget, it's the biggest yet, and a lot of people are saying we are still yet to see the effects of this, budget. But
we'll get into the details of that in the course of the discussion today. We are looking at 27 years of democracy in Nigeria. What are the costs of securing this republic?
We also have 27 years after, still talking about 27 years of unbroken democracy. Has democracy delivered prosperity to Nigeria and Nigerians?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yes,
and we'll try to have the answer to it. And of course, the Apapa port congestion is still on our table, and sometimes you wonder, when will this stop? How can we address it? That is part of what we'll continue to talk about today on the show.
And then we have the artist of the week. You do know standards. You have to wait till the end of the show to know who that is. So we'll not let you.
Okay, let me just give a hint. He's a male. He's a male.
All right. So we'll see you on the other side.
One nation, green, white, green.
Yes, so
that's the color of Nigeria.
Nigeria, and that's the color that we're all proud of.
And it shows, the greenery, the peace that we are supposed to be enjoying, and we're looking forward to that time that when we look at the flag, we really say, yes, we have this white that depicts peace, and the green that shows that our land is really rich in culture, in everything.
Yeah, certainly. And so we talk about 27 years of democracy and the cost of securing the republic. At what cost do we secure this republic? Nigeria marks 27 unbroken years of democratic rule. It's a milestone. We all know that. Worth celebrating. But the atmosphere across the nation remains deeply tense, and we all know why. In his Democracy Day address, President Bola Tinubu declared that democracy without security is simply a mirage. And to back that statement, his administration has rolled out a historic 5.41 trillion naira defense and security budget. But as billions leave the public treasury, mass kidnappings continue to strike our communities, most recently stealing school children away in Oyo and, of course, in Borno states. And we asked the critical question this morning for our panel of security experts is simple. Why is the highest security spending in Nigerian history failing to buy everyday safety for the Nigerian citizen? Today we start with a look at the true cost of securing the republic. And we have joining us this morning Colonel Yomi Dare, retired Colonel Yomi Dare, security consultant and strategic affairs analyst. He joins us via Zoom. We also have Dr. Woli Ogini, senior researcher, Bonn International Center for Conflict Studies, also joining us online. Yakubu Dati, chairman, Federal Polytechnic, Ayede, and former Commissioner of Information, Plateau State, joining us from our Abuja studios. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And
happy Democracy Day.
Right. Yeah. So we ask, let me start from our studios in Abuja. Mr. Dati, we're celebrating 27 years of democracy in the country, unbroken democracy. We see it as a milestone. But, we're talking about the cost of securing the republic. What are your thoughts about the recent happenings in the country? I say recent, but it's not really strange. It's just that what is happening now, the banditry and kidnappings are entering new territory. We've had them in the past in other parts of the country. So what do you think about, the cost of securing the Nigerian Republic? At what cost do we have this republic? Mr. Dati.
Thank you very much, Joke Yomi, for this opportunity. I think the cost must also be looked at with the benefits and milestones that have been achieved so far. You recall that there was a time in this country where flags of terrorists were hoisted in certain local governments in the country. But today, not one is being hoisted, and that goes to credit to the this administration for ensuring that they put the money where the action is. And I must also commend Mr. President for this inspiring Democracy Day speech, where he emphasized the bond, or the responsibility of this generation. Like he said, every generation has a responsibility. The founding fathers had a responsibility to bring independence. The June 12th generation had a responsibility to enthrone democracy, and this generation has a responsibility to move on prosperity. And so much is going on, and we are happy with the Supreme Court judgment empowering the 774 local governments to get direct funding. That in itself is an achievement, because the local governments have councillors, and we are beginning to see, hoping that the developments will go deep down into the local governments, into the wards where these issues matter most. So I believe that a lot has been going on. A lot of the insurgents have been degraded, a lot have been exterminated, and the security forces are making progress in spite of the toll of heavy prices they are paying. In fact, you need to know what is happening, especially with our security men who have lost their lives, how their families are faring. These are people that have paid supreme price for the growth and strength and progress of this country. And I'd like to also add that we have winning stories like Plateau State, where Governor Mutfwang has instituted what you call the state police in the the name of Operation Rainbow. So I want to take this opportunity also to thank the National Assembly for passing the police bill, and gradually I believe that there are also structures on ground like the Operation Rainbow that exists in Plateau will transmute into the state police, and that will strengthen local vigilance, and that will strengthen local first respondents at the local government level, at the ward level. And by the time we empower these local governments to have direct funding, we'll be able to checkmate, because it's at that level. You have the grassroots, you have the councillors, you have the chairmen, you have the traditional rulers, and by the time you empower them, they will be able to know the strange faces that are coming into their communities, and also contribute to ensuring that we govern the so-called ungoverned spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Dati. Let me come to Colonel Yomi Dare. Good to see you, sir. Mr. Dati said that insurgents have been largely degraded. There is no flag hoisted anywhere by non-state actors in Nigeria. But what would you say is accounting for this almost every day, every other time, kidnappings, killings, and abductions, you know, in most parts of Nigeria as we think now?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Yomi, and the vibrant team of Channels Television for organizing this interview and for inviting me to be part of this auspicious occasion, celebrating 27 years of unbroken democracy. We all agree that 27 years since the military, since the military stepped down and handed over power to the civilian regime, precisely on the 29th of May, 1999. This is the longest that we've had an unbroken, you know, democracy in spite of the challenges that we face as a nation. Well, there's no way that we can celebrate, you know, this democracy without the mention that we face a lot of security challenges in our nation, and unfortunately, what we are experiencing is not a conventional kind of insecurity. It is a guerrilla type of warfare, that which it's very, very new to us here, and it's something that it's not a dash. It is a marathon. It is a marathon that we have to continue to manage as we speak, because what we are facing is terrorism. And when the terrorists, when they start to act, you don't even know whether the man next door is part of this shenanigan. So they are embedded. They have their cells all over. Apart from the ones that operate from their bases in the forests, they have their cells all over. And yes, we must commend the federal government that efforts have been made. Efforts have been made at very huge costs. Huge costs, you know. Look at the humongous amount of money that is being deployed, you know, or that's been allocated to security. Even right now, you listen to the president's speech. Look at the amount of money. 5 trillion plus.
Colonel Derek, pardon me, let me come in here. Yes, we know this humongous amount of money being used or earmarked for defense and security in Nigeria. But the results that we see, is it commensurate with that kind of money that we have seen, or what really is the challenge?
Well, that's a very difficult one, I must admit, because the way, especially when almost every day, you know, we have security situations all over. In the last 24 hours, we've had, you know, attacks in Gombe community in Adamawa State, where students, you know, were having, you know, a friendly football match. And terrorists just came from nowhere and started shooting sporadically, you know, killing and adopting students. We have cases in Kayama, where right now the government has been given a week, you know, about 176 people are in captive. Is that the one in Rio, where government went and killed the pastor and adopted 2 of his children? Is it the one in Kogi State, where they attacked an orphanage? So what we're saying is that there's still a lot that needs to be done. I'd advise that, yes, a lot of money is being allocated to defense, but there's also the need for us to ensure that there is accountability and transparency in in the way and manner these funds are being spent, and because what is most important here is that no amount of money that will be deployed if certain things are not taken care of. When I mean certain things, as we speak, we have a lot of infrastructural deficiency. In this country, in the 21st century, we still have villages that are not even motorable. Vehicles can't get there. And that's why one of the reasons why we're having serious security challenges. The bandits, the terrorists, what they move, their main form of mobility is a motorcycle. They've mastered it and they know the routes. But the security forces, where they are deployed, most of those places, before when things happen, before they have access to those locations, these bandits must have committed, all the atrocities that they need to commit, and they just disappear.
Right. Yeah. Apologies. Apologies. Thank you for that submission, and it was really heartbreaking. Really, the picture we're painting this morning, and the picture that you have painted of all the, the latest attacks, even the ones that we didn't get to hear about immediately. And when the president talked about the what's it called? The amount of money voted for security spending, Colonel Dari, I have a feeling that, we had, some intelligence about where these kidnappings and insecurity, where they were taking place before, where they were, but now that these activities, terrorist activities and banditry activities are spreading across the country, I'm not so sure that these monies will be sufficient, and with the infrastructure deficiencies that you have painted, it makes it all the more dire. If I could come to you, Dr. Woli or Guinea, what do you think that the government should be, using this security budget, to do? We've had, many analysts and many commentators say that we've not seen what the money is doing. Even ordinary citizens like us, when we opened, Yomi said something that we don't even know. Everybody's still scared to get on the road. You don't know if you get on the road one day, what could befall you. So what kind of infrastructure, security infrastructure, do you think that the government should be putting in place to ensure the safety of lives and property?
Thank you for having me. And I will say, of course, happy democracy celebration to Nigerians. It's a moment of reflection for us as a country. I think the most important point to highlight is not the celebration or the number of election cycles. It's more or less how we consider security as a governance outcome rather than more or less security or military response. And in this case, you asked a very pertinent question on the infrastructure. As somebody who almost visited almost all the borders Nigeria has, whether from the northwest, central, east, or wherever, you could also see there that there are points of leverage. Maybe we should first look at this point of leverage and to see how we can scale it up. If you look at the borders, for example, Kayama area, where you have to travel with a not convenient road for several hours before you get there, definitely infrastructure is one point that we need to take into consideration. But then, this will be a gradual stuff. If we want to dedicate so huge resources into armed drone surveillance, and we overlook the aspect of community mediation, which can address certain things, and then we don't address the structural issue that could definitely prevent resurgence where possible. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear from the first speaker who mentioned there is no hosting of flag. I would say more than hosting of flag, terrible things are happening in other places, and it's very important to highlight this, that it's not just hosting of flag. And why this insurgency very important, and why it's actually a dilemma, or I can say a challenge to our democracy, is when you look at, for example, Al-Qaeda linked group. Last year, the federal government of Nigeria were able to capture Mahmouda. That was around between June and August 2025. And everybody celebrated that, yeah, the Al-Qaeda link network has been decapitated and nothing happened. I was in the field in February, and I happened to have access to document, almost 55 pages that I translated, where this group says their goal is basically they hate anything National Assembly. They don't even want it. Because the National Assembly, when they want to pass law, they have to bow down like this, and they think that is against apostasis. So they don't want anyone to associate with the government. They don't want any representation of government, and this is the core goal of this group. So which means they don't want anything, any sort of democracy. So this brings to the cost, because I want to highlight very briefly what are the costs: economic costs, the farming, the agricultural product, the motorable road, even those ones that we can still pass is not safe. That increase the cost of transportation. You could see over the long period, the rich people take flight, the poor people have to suffer on the main road. Investors are avoiding high-risk area. This is very important. In terms of human costs, you could see trauma at the community level. You could see mistrust, and this is a big issue. Then at the governance level, and this is where it's a bit very complicated, because if you look at it, when insurgents are mediating, Lakrawa emerged to protect, to fight against banditry, and then they adjudicate, they address land dispute and all sorts of things, thereby providing a sort of alternative governance. This decreases the confidence of people in democratic institutions. When democratic institutions fail to reduce violence, to provide livelihood, and then it's a real problem. I think this is what we should talk when we talk about the broader cause of insecurity. Then talking of the resources channeling into this, of course, there are a lot more that needed to be done when it comes to even the security-wise. If you look at the forest area where this armed group passes through, of course, many of them are not motorable, but they've been abandoned for a long period of time. So, and that's why when we got to the discussion of whether forest guard is needed or not, I think I had a little pushback on the criticism on that, because most of the community we visited, they don't have military presence, they don't have state police presence, and then they don't also have forest guard who usually know those areas and who actually control this border. If you look at the border between Nigeria, Niger, and Benin, in Tulo area, in the Lolo area, in the Bagudu area, which link to Kayama. Even the issue of Oyo State, in January, there was attack in Orire local government, where some group actually, attacked the forest guard, and they were able to take some weapon. That was January, before what happened 29 days or so ago. So what is important to know is that it's not just only about the infrastructure, but it's about the ability to really respond to crises, and that cannot happen when we don't strengthen our local administration. The local administration needs to be strengthened. We have to prioritize accountability to see which area in the security sector these funds are going to, and this is very important point that we need to talk about.
Right. All right, strengthening local administration is one of the points that you have raised here. Let me go to Mr. Dati. You had mentioned earlier about the House of Representatives passing the state police, while, of course, the Senate has referred it to its Constitution Review Committee, the proposal. Some people have their fears. Of course, there is the advantage or advantages and disadvantages of having state police. One of the disadvantages that people are talking about is the fact that some governors may use this or weaponize this against voices that are against them. How do you think, while all of this debate is going on, how do you think, or some of the things that should be in that bill that we are hoping it will come to be law, what do you think should be there to ensure that some of the excesses that could come from, misuse or weaponization of that state police, they are addressed?
Well, thank you very much, Yemi. First and foremost, like I said, I need to commend the National Assembly for the bill, especially which was initiated by Mr. President himself to see to the birth of the state police. In practice, most of the states, who are the ones that control even the police in the states? They're usually the chief security officers, who are the governors. But what the state police does is that it now reduces the command structure and time for response. Instead of waiting for the final clearance from the high command, the governor is there, he's there on the seat. He can easily reach out to the commissioner of police in the state and ensure that certain actions are taken. It's also very important as we carry out this discussion to note that what gives oxygen to these insurgents is the publicity they get. And that is why they look for soft targets that will give them maximal publicity. They look for school children. The other day they picked the PRO, a retired general of the Nigerian Armed Forces. They are looking at soft targets that will give them maximal security. So as much as we discuss what the insurgents that are happening, we should also be celebrating the success stories. Yesterday I just read in the papers how catch of arms and ammunition were seized from insurgents in one of the states in the southeast. We are also hearing stories of reintegration in Borno State, about 720 and about more than 1,000 of their spouses. There are success stories that we need to highlight, and we need to also reduce the publicity we give these insurgents, because that's the oxygen that drives these insurgents. And in all intents and purposes, apart from the cost, the money that is being deployed to security, what is also very, very key is the attempt by Mr. President to ensure that the local governments who have received nothing less than 20 billion in the past 3 years are also allowed to have access to their funding. And that in itself will ensure that the money trickles down and every community has its own peculiarities. And by the time you strengthen that, you are also going to have a broader focus in terms of peculiarities in the local government areas. I also want to also state the efforts by the government in the area of forest guards. We know quite a number have been trained, and quite, the communities need to feed them, because those are the first respondents in each of the communities. And these are the forces that are trained specifically to go into the ungoverned spaces, which are the forests. And most of these people are people from those localities. So they will be able to add to the architecture of the security in those local areas. Don't forget that every crime is localized to the area it has. And first respondents are based in the locality. They exist. And that is why it's important that we should be able to have security presence in the 774 local governments, such that when people come on motorbikes, they cannot have free access and operate for hours without any resistance from the community. But the communities need to be funded. They need to be supported. And that is where the issue of ensuring the autonomy of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria is very key and important in adding to the security infrastructure in the country.
Come to you, Dr. Ogini. Mr. Dati has hit it right, on the head. Communities, should be involved in this security, in the protection of their own communities and their own people. And, yesterday we had the Covenant Nation hold its June 12 series on, Democracy Day series of the platform. And, the Minister of Defense was there, and, he spoke about security, and there was one thing that he said. He said, security is the responsibility of everyone. It's not about carrying weapons and defending yourselves, but it's about being aware and being alert about the people around you. And when there are strangers around you, you should know that they are strangers. And giving information to security agencies such that they will be able to use that information to protect the communities. So how do you think, Mr. Dati's point, will get to that if, the communities are funded and empowered, especially, at the local government level, to ensure that they are parts of, this protection. They are part of the people given information and ensuring that their communities are protected.
Thank you very much. I think a very important point that have been mentioned. What is important is that at the government level, the state government level are doing much disservice to the local government. The more they lay their hold, try to control local government, the less the possibility for the local people to have autonomy to actually channel their own development. So the more through political parties or through indirect means of appointing representatives to be local government administrator, control their financing indirectly, even if the constitution allow them. That is one of the problems, and that's the reason why you could see that the local government, as we see it now, is more or less symbolic than being actionable. And that's why if you look at there are some positive news in some local government that we visited, where you see the local government itself, administrator on the front to speak to the people. And what we see there is that people, the local people, trust this local government administrator. They share information, they supported them, and there are progress in that area. But what is important to know is that you cannot push responsibility to the community that you have not empowered. You have to empower this community. You have to develop trust. We have to make them to develop trust in the system. Then they can be a responsible citizen. And this is, for example, with regard to sharing of information. In many occasions, it is not that the community don't want to share information. In fact, there have been instances where they share information and that leads to reprisal attack to them. They want to feel secure. They want to feel secure in the sense that they want to make sure that when they share information, the people, the government act on it, not just only acting after 2 weeks, acting immediately. They want to make sure that they are protected. They want to make sure that their identities are protected. They want to make sure that government's protection is steady, not intermittent, not episodic. And this is an important point that we need to highlight when we are pushing the responsibility to the local people. The local people are always ready. They are always ready to cooperate with the government. They are always ready to cooperate with the security operators. They are always ready when they know that their protection is guaranteed. And this is the point. I can start instances from Kayama down to Chikanda, down to Keyama, Kemaji, and many other places from north central down to northwest, where I've reported incidents of attack, reprisal attack as a result of this. Look, last 2 weeks in the Kara community, the traditional ruler received 2.3 million from the armed group to buy food for them. That's about 3 or 4 local government and local community heads, which also reported to the security. What is important to know is that if security don't go there and protect them, reporting that means the whole villages will be burnt down. So these are the instances that we have to look at. Thank you.
That is a dire situation, because if you ask people to come up with information about faces that they don't know in their communities and just to report to the police, and they don't get the protection that they should have, then, as you said, there will be some consequences. Let me come to you, Colonel Dari. We see on TikTok, we see bandits, we see them, flaunting cash, we see them with their facial identity in the open. There's no hiding. We reckon that they use phones to communicate with people, like, asking for ransom, and it will seem as if we are not able to track them with this. What could be the challenge, and how can we use this technology in terms of intelligence gathering to ensure that some of these people who openly put it in our faces that yes, we are here, you come catch us, how can we indeed use some of this technology to get to them and ensure that they are captured?
Thank you very much, Yomi. That is a very, very, very critical point that we are confronted with right now. After all, we have all the service providers, the telecommunication companies. They're right here with us. And you see, in the course of our training, whilst our elementary stage in the military, that even the enemy also attended, the academy, the training, the military training that we have. So when you are thinking, you just have to also, juxtapose and put yourself, on the other side. That's something that everyone needs, to be bothered about. I've also sat down myself that, look, what the hell is going on here? They do TikTok. But the good news is that I think the government has started, clamping down on them. And I'm sure it's something that is work in progress. These are some of the things that you don't have to come over the television in the open to discuss, because some security things are classified, whether you like it or not, they are classified, And I think something is being done in that area. It's just unfortunate. Part of the problem that we have, we have to call it spade by its name and nothing else, is corruption. As we speak, a lot of people are benefiting from even this dire situation that we are being confronted with. A lot of people, there's complicity across the board. There's complicity. So this has to be nipped. This has to be seriously addressed. My dear, the last speaker spoke, about Mr. Gide spoke about the local government. Yes, government at all levels need to step up their game across the board, and especially at the local government level. At the local government level, I'm glad that the president has declared a state of security emergency, and this should be pragmatic. This should be practical. This should be seen, not just theoretical. People should be held to account. There must be transparency. It's not a situation whereby funds are made available. Yes, we'll be clamoring for autonomy for the local governments. So it's not a situation whereby funds are made available, and the next thing is the so-called people there, and rather than deploy the funds, for what they are meant for. Security votes are available at the federal, at the states, and even at the local government levels. These funds have to be used. Surveillance is very key. Intelligence. You must spend money. It's all investment. When the bandits are ready to recruit people on their side and give them money, we have restless youths all over. Unemployment. They are unemployed. So I must not rule out the fact that in some communities, in some local government areas, the representatives are trying. They are engaging the youths. They are engaging other people as a vigilante, to help them. But the truth is that you have to spend money. You have to, you have to spend money such that when people, and then there must be education, there must be mass education, because it's not the military alone. Both the kinetic and non-kinetic efforts, have to be deployed. The military alone cannot do it. As we speak, this has cost us so much in terms of cost, in terms of even the political will. Because when the people don't feel secured, then they undermine constituted authority. They resolve to self-help. And that is what is happening here. And what about the economy? Once upon a time, some people were called fruit baskets, or people grew their fruits. People were on the fields and all this. But right now, they can't even tend to their crops. Everybody, they have to run away for their dear lives. People are living in IDP camps, which should not be. As we speak, a lot of lives have been lost. Even the military, we've lost thousands, of military men. Is it the police? We've lost a lot of policemen. Is it the paramilitary? We've lost a lot of paramilitary too. And what about the civilians? A lot of lives have been cut short because of acts of terrorism. So there's need for us. It is everybody's business. I'm borrowing the words of the Chief of Defense Staff. Yes, security is everybody's business.
Indeed,
it's not just for the military. No.
Indeed,
when you see something, you say something. You say something.
Yeah.
So, but here we are, and talking about infrastructures. Yes, and in this day and age, almost every village, there must be roads to the village. Even if the roads are not tarred, there must be roads to the villages, such that when people need help, in case of emergency, or if so many emergencies, so many things can happen. What about the health? For health reasons too, Look at somewhere in Kogi State, students went to write exams. The bandits stormed the place, killed the vice principal, and then created mayhem.
Yeah, these are stories that really touch, the heart of many Nigerians. We really don't want to continue to see, and that people just go to their place of worship, or you are in your house, or you are in the school, and you really cannot, be sure that you are safe. Now, talking about bandits on TikTok. Of course, the Senate had said that the security agencies, DSS, and the police cybercrime unit should look into that and make arrests. We are hoping that that would happen. But in the meantime, let me come to you, Dr. Ogini. We see on TikTok bandits doing giveaways to some Nigerians, and people actually sending their numbers, account numbers, to these bandits for giveaways. What does this say about, the mindset of some people who perhaps they've lost hope in the government? And how do you think we can address this? This should be your final comment, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Since it's my final comment, I will first say something that democratic transition should be about performance and not symbolic. And democracy that cannot protect its people risk becoming a shell. Having said that, a very important point you mentioned is that if you look at ISWAP have a different structure of recruitment. ISWAP creates small-scale business around the area they control, and they empower those people to be able to serve as their informants. So there are people who live in the local areas. You buy things from daily basis, and this is a point. The second point is there's a dilemma between stopping the means of financing terrorism and creating employment. If you look at ISWAP control the Lake Chad Basin fishing value chain. And if you go to Ibadan, where a lot of dry fish are sold, these fish come from those sides. Billions of naira are recruited from there. Then what needs to happen? Should government stop people from trading in fish in that area? Or what should government do in these instances other than to deal with this hand group? So this is one part. In North Central Nigeria, the recruitment by Mahmudawa Group, based on my interview, they recruited people as far as Arit. Arit is in Niger. It's one of the areas that is controlled by mining site, uranium, and others. And what they gave them is 1 million CFA to say that they want to come for mining, and upon arriving in Nigeria, they handed over weapons to them. So at the local level, they give quite a lot of people money, especially those who bandits as, stop from going to farm. They don't have other means of livelihood. So this is one point. Then on the aspect of the digital one, when you look at how bandits try to do that, they also want to portray that they can do what government cannot do. And Nigerians generally, we are used to freebie. We have a very hardworking Nigeria, but we also have Nigeria who are also vulnerable to freebies. I think we need much more of sensitization, both at the local level, at the digital level. I think, yes, in the recent time, the Nigerian military have been working so hard on social media, Facebook and other, discussed quite a lot how they degrade this armed group. It's not just enough. The National Orientation Agency really need to work very hard. We have not seen so much from them. They need to work hard, work with the state level, work with local government, and work at different international and local partners to bring message of hope to the vulnerable youth who are also looking to government for something reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Dati, your final take on that same matter, Nigerians taking giveaways, monies from bandits. Some Nigerians.
That question. It's also important to state and commend the security forces, especially the DSS. Of recent, one of the bandits that will be flaunting on this TikTok has been arrested. Somebody named Yellow. I remember, but sometimes I wonder why some of these success stories do not get the kind of airtime that we give to activities of bandits. So there's a lot going on, and the security agencies are also on their trail and arresting them on a daily basis. Most also importantly is that, like I always commend the issue of the state police, the governors have the control of the local governments. The local government, in each local government you have 10 to 15 councillors who also are situated from their wards. You have supervisory council. I'm saying that because I've been a local government chairman. So averagely, you are talking about a structure in the local government that will bring in about 15,000 communities. So by the time you bring in this pool of people into the vision of the president that has to do with the forest guards, which involves getting people from the community, training them, irrespective of the youths, the native doctors, the babalawos, whatever they are. By the time they come and they are trained, you now cut down the problem that we have with these insurgents, which has to do with response time. So you don't have to call the command structure to send people. You already have people in the community who are trained, who can be the first responders and who can respond. And that is why I believe that the opportunity for the state police is an opportunity for the governors to begin to ensure that they trickle down the issue of recruitment into each and every ward in the local government, so that there is always a security man resident there, trained, that will provide the first response in terms of attack, instead of waiting for the command structure to call, and then they have to take permission. By the time they arrive, 3-4 hours, you have people on motorcycles loading children on motorcycles and taking off without any resistance. So those are also opportunities, and I'm happy that we have a good working model in Plateau State, where Governor Mutfang has empowered Operation Rainbow under retired General Shipi, and we are beginning to see such actions that are taking place where their recruitment is going deep into the local governments. And I also want to state that the efforts by the National Security Advisor, No Ribadu, in training these forest guards needs to be improved upon, in such that the communities and the idea should not only, the training should not only be there, but it should be deployed to their communities, so that they become the first respondents in those communities, that they will be empowered. And when the governors are there, they have the chairman, they know where it's leaking. They live in the house, so they know where it's leaking.
Right.
We have a situation in Plateau where even a community that is bordering the military barracks were attacked, but the military could not respond because of the command structure.
Right.
In such a situation, the governor can easily say, look, the governor can easily call the chairman, what do you want, and he deploys immediately.
Right.
And you have already cells of security people in each of the communities that can be reactivated and respond immediately.
Right. I must thank you. We've completely run out of time, but thank you really for those thoughts. Robust conversation this morning with Mr. Yakubu Dati, the chairman, Federal Polytechnic, Ayede, former commissioner for information, Plateau State. Thank you for joining us. He joined us from our Abuja studios. We have Dr. Woli Ogini, senior researcher, Bonn International Center for Conflict Studies. Thank you. He joined us via Zoom. And also retired Colonel Yomi Dari, security consultant.
I've not had my final words, Yomi.
But we
make it in 30 seconds.
Right.
I've not been able to.
Hello. Right.
Hello, Colonel Dari. We can hear you now. Yeah, 30 seconds is going.
Right.
Okay,
unfortunately, we can't hear him. Let's just wrap up. I consider that as his final thoughts, really. Colonel Yomidari, I'm sure you'll be back to talk about these issues, but must thank you for your time this morning. Security consultant and strategic affairs analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program and for your contributions.
And we'll take a quick break now. When we return, it will be time to look at how much of economic dividends democracy has delivered to Nigerians.
Stay with us.
Stay with us.
Will let me, I love you, I surrender my everything forever.
Thank you for staying with us. So the president said that June 12 had established our political liberty.
Yes.
But the current fight now is for the economic liberty of Nigerians.
Certainly.
There's a lot going on in the country economically. We all know if we go by the fuel price, of course, you can link Iran to it, but before Iran, we were at 800, and many Nigerians are not finding it funny. We are talking about gas, gas price. I don't know how much you bought today. The last time I did, it was around 1,800.
Yes, in some areas,
in some areas we hear it's 2,000, and so there's a whole lot going on right now. But how much of economic dividends, as I said earlier, has democracy delivered to Nigerians? Let's find out what and how the country can move forward economically. We have joining us virtually Dr. Olugbenga Adeyemi Adeoye, who is a chartered accountant, tax expert, arbitrator, international business lawyer, and president, Egba Economic Summit Group. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. In our Abuja studios, we have with us the special advisor to the president on economic affairs, Mr. Tokpe Fashua. Good to see you, Mr. Fashua.
And thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. The data shows that the first quarter GDP growth rate of nearly 4%. That is good news for economists. That is good news for, I guess, good news for Nigerians. But the reality, Nigerians will tell you that we are not seeing that growth in our finances, in our economic situation. Tell us how far this current government is trying to do all of the things that it's doing. It says it's delivering for now. Some difficult times, but that we should look ahead, and the better days are ahead of us. Let's take it the current situation now. Why are we here, and how can we move forward? Mr. Fashwa.
Well, thank you very much. The problem is that we sort of, many times we are wired to focus on the negative side of things. I heard you talking about gas prices and petroleum prices, but there are other things that have also improved in the country. Whereas, yes, we agree that gas prices, petroleum prices have gone up, even before the Iran problem, which actually complicated things for us a little bit. But we're getting out of that as well. But in this country, of course, we've seen that minimum wage has increased. The government actually spurred that one to happen from 30,000 to 70,000 in the minimum. And of course, the private sector has also taken a cue. Most people are earning double what they were earning a couple of years back. Some triple, some quadruple. That is the truth. So it's working in some areas. It's not. So we tend to. There's nothing wrong actually in projecting only the negative side, or to actually focus on people who are downtrodden and falling by the wayside, because it helps the whole of society to do better. I made a note a couple of days back that in this same country, it also occurred to me that about 6, 7, 8 years ago, even 10 years ago, we were talking about state governments owing salaries, some up to 18 months. Was mentioned specifically, I think I remember Kogi State was one of those, Osun was one of those, quite a few states in the north as well, even in the east of this country, were owing salaries up to 12 months, some 18 months. Now, what it means when you owe civil servant salaries for that long, I don't know how people survive for 18 months, even for 2 months without their salary. Some of the states also, they were paying half salary for years, half salary. And this was when minimum wage was 18,000, sometimes 30,000 naira. We can talk about the value of money, whether naira is stronger or weaker or whatever. But the point is that there was a time when people were constrained. So there are two things. The federal government of today, under President Tinubu, has come, and today none of the states, 0 states are owing salaries. I mean 0. And that's remarkable. Now, we're not saying that it's a great achievement to be able to pay salaries, but if we compare to when people didn't have anything at all, and you may say they were civil servants, not everybody is a civil servant, but I also know many private companies that took a cue at that point in time, and they were owing salaries and making their people suffer, even when some of them, the CEOs, were flying private jets up and down. Secondly, very importantly, what the President has done, he is an advocate of local government autonomy. He has pushed for that. Some of the local governments are getting their money directly. Now, more of them will do that. In fact, a lot of them are regularizing their papers, submitting, mandate forms at central bank, and so on. There's going to be a final push. Of course, the governors, they have to manage that situation one way or the other. The truth is that there's a lot of, imbalances at that level, that if the governors of some of the states don't continue to support some local government, there'll be a skew. You find out that the very large local governments, where we have had a lot of people moving to those local governments, just like people move to Lagos and leave some of the states. In Abuja here, most people want to be in Amak. Very few people will stay in places like Kwali, like, and all of those places. There's a place called Yaba in this Abuja and so on. So there's that need for that balance. So but what we have seen is that Mr. President's policy has empowered the state governments, it has empowered the local government, and that is where Nigerians live. So I personally don't buy this rhetoric and this narrative that everybody is suffering in Nigeria, there's more suffering. I don't buy it. And I've not seen any empirical research that actually supports that. What I have seen, and what I'm telling you right now, is that I've seen evidence to the extent that people who live in the local government, in the state government, are now having more opportunities as a result of the policies of the federal government. In fact, the federal government, actually, you could say that they have shot themselves in the leg, because it is in the federal government you see that constraint. And everybody is focusing on Tinubu, when in fact he has actually released the power to the to the local governments and the state governments to do better for their people. So that's the way I look at it.
Let me come in there. Let me stay with you, Mr. Fashua. And to your point of, tripled and quadrupled salaries, and with that comes, the salary increase letters to say, due to the present economic realities in the country, we are pleased to announce the increment of salaries. So it takes people back to square one, because it's because of the increase in goods, of the cost of goods and services, that salaries are increased. So it's the same thing. You don't have more money, you just have money to spend with the current economic realities. So, we're back to square one. Yeah,
you're very correct. And it's better to be left at status quo than to be dragged back. Imagine if those increases in salaries hadn't happened. That means that people will be forced to survive on 3 years, 4 years ago salary, given today's reality, where fuel prices, where the cost of everything is. And in fact, also remember very importantly that Nigeria's economy is 70% informal economy. And the reason why we had inflation, food prices increasing in 2023, 2024 is because everybody increased their prices. Everybody who was selling something increased their prices. Nigeria has 39 million MSMEs, meaning that people are always selling something, even though, someone said that we have enough of those, and I think we do have enough of MSMEs, because it's a cry for help anyway. People trying to do something on the side. Many civil servants have small things they're doing on the side. You can't blame them. Everybody is trying to survive. But everybody increased their prices. And in increasing their prices, that means you're getting some more money in. But then again, let's also confuse the fact that there are times when some business models are just not working. The world is changing in very dynamic ways. Artificial intelligence is coming up, all sorts of things. Some of the tech companies, biggest tech companies in the world, they've laid off more than 100,000 people around the world in the last 1 month. So we should also expect that some of these things will come into Nigeria. You see a lot of riots in Belfast, see what's going on in South Africa. They're pushing everybody out. Every country is coming under pressure. It's not just in Nigeria, but Nigeria, I think we were lucky that Mr. President actually made the move that he made, because we cannot keep kicking the can down the road and saying that and expecting things to get fixed up. It's not going to happen. We were paying $10 billion in fuel subsidy every year, which disappeared into people's pocket. You heard what former governor of Kwara State, Saraki, who was then Senate President, said yesterday. Non-existent ships collecting money from Nigeria and all of those. So Mr. President said, look, let's walk away from that permanently. And that's why we're here today. Fuel prices are high because we're now tethered strictly to the market forces and the global markets and so on. The problem in Iran, our prayer is that it ends on time, because people are dying in those places. It's not in our interest. And of course, it's not as if we're making so much money now, because every crude oil is produced on that contract. And Nigeria's part of that is at best 40%, 45% thereabout. So it is good that we have actually made this move, increase that minimum wage. And I am one of those people who will always put the private sector under pressure to say that, look, this minimum wage thing is not just a federal government or state government thing, it's a whole of economy thing. Everybody must do right by their employees, because the employees who collect salary are the most vulnerable in this instance. So once we can do that, then of course we know that some people are at par where they were, and then we now try to fix the vulnerable sector of the economy.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Adeoye. You've heard what Mr. Fashua said. He said he doesn't believe that there's so many people, that are suffering, if I get him right. He needs empirical facts for that. And he mentioned that there is a 70,000 minimum wage, and the president has said that, the structural reforms going on is painful, but, we should just look ahead for better days. What are you seeing, Dr. Adeoye, in Nigeria economically?
Because we are in the era of June 12th. Today is June 13th. So let me just thank God for the life of those who fought for independence, Zik, Arole, Ahmadu Bello, and those who enhanced democracy, like Obasanjo, who handed over in 1979. May God forgive those who truncated democracy in 1983. And also want to thank General Abdulsalam Abubakar, who willingly handed over in 1999 to Obasanjo. And then we thank the Afenifere, the Nadeco, the people who fought for democracy. Now, let's come back to the issue of 27 years of uninterrupted democracy, whether we have achieved what we need to achieve. We have achieved greatly on the macro side, but on the micro, we have a lot to do. At the initial part of my French speech, he's a chartered accountant, so, and also he's a very good marketer, and he has a duty to say all that he has said about the country. But one thing that we know is that Mr. President understands what we are going through. I'm going to agree with him on the side of the role of the subnationals. You find out that after the removal of subsidy, there have been increase in federal allocation to state governments, and the infrastructure we call public infrastructure that could cushion the effect of inflation was not made available by many states. I was watching what happened at the Lagos Investors Forum, Invest 3.0. And you had Abia State Governor, Imo State Governor, Plateau State Governor, Nasarawa State Governor, and the Lagos State Governor. What they were doing, what they have done so far on power. I tell you, the blame of the current situation in terms of what is happening with prices, we have to shift 70% to subnationals. State governments are not doing what they ought to do. With the volume of money that is made available to our governors, there is no reason why we should not have gone far in having real connection in all the 3 senatorial districts in the respective states. And this is going to bring down prices of transportation. With the liberalization on power generation and distribution, there is nothing stopping state governors to have done a lot with power plants to have electricity available to citizens in their respective states. Now, when you take energy cost, transportation cost out of your cost, then you get better. Investment in farm clusters where you have tomatoes, vegetables, beans, rice, maize being planted in a way that food prices could go down. Most of the governors have not done what they ought to do. Therefore, we shift 70% of the blame to subnationals. They are receiving more money, but where is the money going to? We understand that the money goes to the black market to chase dollars, rather than providing needed infrastructure that could cushion the effect of inflation. However, federal government cannot be totally, absorbed from the microeconomic crisis that we have, because even at the 70,000 increase in salaries, like people say jokingly, they say the take home cannot take them home. So we must agree with that. But the take home will have been able to take people home if we have done the needful in terms of infrastructure that provides public goods that brings prices down. Take, for instance, you talk about you don't have electricity in many places, and for that reason, you have to purchase diesel or petrol. Diesel at 1,800 So no matter how much you are earning, you are going to become poor by providing energy for yourself. And if you talk to people that are in hospitality, I happen to be an investor in hospitality, people are making losses. And when that happens, people will close down, and then some people will lose their jobs. So the governors have responsibility to see, what can we do? Can we face the state capital first, face the major city first, and ensure that there is adequate power supply that is affordable by the people? And then you go to rural communities and then subsidize solar panel, inverters, and batteries for them. The federal government cannot do everything alone. Do you have cluster farms? Now you look at people when they apply for farmland to farm. For 1 year, they may not get response from the government. And this is one of the things that can solve our food security problem. When we don't plant, we're not going to have harvest. And when there's no harvest, prices of food will continue to increase.
Wow. A lot to unpack. Mr. Fashua, your comments on that as well, especially because we do know that when salaries are increased, or when we want to ensure that things are the way they used to be, Nigerians are still complaining because a lot of times we say that we're the ones that are our own enemies. When prices are good and market forces are good, sellers refuse to bring down the prices of commodities. Is there any way that the government can help to regularize these things such that, the market forces, when they're in play, they're really in play, and when they go up, it goes up, when it comes down, and, everybody's happy at the end of the day?
Yes. Thank you, Madam. You asked very, very salient questions. Honestly, I don't know your name, but I wish
my name is
get
Joke.
to know your name, because
Joke Rogers.
Joke, asking very salient questions, because one of our biggest problems in this country is what's called price gouging. When we had the worst of inflation pre-2025, it was because people just wake up and increase their prices. In fact, this morning I bought an item, using WhatsApp, and they had increased the price between 2 days and today by about 20%. And I was asking why? What happened? What changed? But because it's what's called seller's market. Because in the seller's market, and this is where most of Nigeria is what they call seller's market. People use most of their money on food, on transportation, on shelter. Maybe they have to rent a house or build one, and a little bit on social, and maybe some clothing on their back. That's what takes all of, and maybe of course school fees for those who have children. That's it. Now the point is that if it depends on the school you're taking your children to. Most of the private schools, they will increase at will, and then you start to argue with them. If you go to the restaurant where you eat tomorrow and they've increased their prices, you still have to eat, and if you get to the bus stop and you're going from Oshodi to Mile 2, is whatever the guy calls it that you're going to enter. Sometimes we argue, but so you have asked a question, what can we do? Because the countries that we sometimes quote are countries that they have gone through all of this in the past, and in a place like United States, which is the headquarters of global capitalism, all of the states have laws against price gouging. During Hurricane Katrina, one guy bought some generating sets from Kentucky and took it to Louisiana, where they had a problem because they had no light in that state at that time, and increased the prices by 100% times 2. He was arrested and jailed immediately. So you don't just price gouge and increase prices on people. We are getting to that place. The FCCPC is doing a lot to ensure that we get to that point. But I think that the ultimate duty and role belongs to the people. Do not be exploited. Don't wait to be exploited. Okay? Because you want to say, oh, well, it's Tinubu's problem. But you are the one paying the price. The people increasing prices when they shouldn't. So we should get to that point where we know that, okay, if the cost of factors reduce your price as well. If you can prove to us that the price of your factors have increased. But if you think that because you can just set the price anyhow and make a kill, because most Nigerians are aspirational, everybody wants to do the 50th remembrance of their great-great-grandfather and spend money. We see the same people we complain about there's no money. We spray money in parties and dance on it, and the government has not been able to even stop that problem in time. But then I want to quickly comment about some of the things that Dr. Adeoye mentioned. The fact is that, yes, of course, a lot of the states can do better, but some of the states are doing well, and we can only encourage them. For example, Lagos State, of course, Lagos is almost not a state, but we can see the indices of what they're doing. Lagos is one of the states that's taking initiative. They have a grand plan. Mr. President is part of that plan, and there's that continuity going on. Ogu is not doing too badly in terms of infrastructure. They used to criticize him a lot about the roads in Ota and all, but I was in Ota a couple of months back, and some of those places I realized that, okay, some of those roads had come back into action. Equally, Ekiti State, I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I saw some of the things that they have done. If you go to the southeast, governors like Enugu State, Abia State, Imo State, Anambra, even Ebonyi State, some of those guys are doing well. Then you begin to move to the north, and you see things happening in Kano State, in Kaduna State, in Plateau State, and even as far as Adamawa. So before we make some of those statements, please let us be empirical. So let's not dismiss all of them as a whole and say the governors are just changing the money to dollars. It may not be a fair statement. Some of them are really trying. Some of them are. However, like I said, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. One of the things I've also criticized the governors for, and I'm pushing them to do this, to say that the ratio of debt between Nigeria's debt between the federal and state is 93% to 7%. The federal government is carrying 93% of Nigerian debt. So tomorrow you hear Mr. President wants to build an infrastructure. He has sent a request to the Senate. Nigerians will say, oh, why are we doing this? The point is also that we need to begin to see the states maybe coming together to build infrastructure. For example, Dr. Adeoye mentioned the rail system. I know that the Southwest Development Commission, they are trying to come together to see how, so we want to quickly see how that pans out. We want to see our entire country linked up by rail, but I think that the governors have a great role. Otherwise, we'll be putting too much pressure on the federal. Okay, that's actually the truth of where we sit right now. Nigeria, and again, please, and now the thing is this, that there's no time we're going to see that Nigerians will not complain. There's nowhere they're not complaining in the whole world. As a matter of fact, I say that we have good problems in Nigeria. People who live abroad will tell you that they are under pressure, they feel the impact of the credit system, they feel they're paying too many bills. In Nigeria, we haven't got to that point yet. Sometimes we want to say we want to be like the abroad. Sometimes I tell people, be careful what you ask for, because you may just get it. The kind of stress they face in those places is different from what we face here. You realize that we've been living in almost a paradise in this place. But of course, that's the biggest room in the world, is a room for improvement. We all can do better, and the citizens can do better. We must be very watchful, make sure that nobody is taking advantage of you, and realize that this country has a lot of potential for growth, and we have all actually started growing. We would continue to try and reduce the poverty level of our people, but this is also where every of our people can get the most opportunity, because this is the country where we're from. Like Mr. President said, he said, you can criticize me, but don't run down Nigeria. Criticize me, but understand that Nigeria is your best bet. You can see the people coming from the returnees from South Africa telling you, I see a lot of them complaining about what they've gone through in those places. I tell them, I say, we've always said that Nigeria is the best bet for every Nigerian. At least now we can see it. And every country is becoming xenophobic in their own way. So we must come back to see how we can make our country better, and this country is going to soar. Yes,
certainly Nigeria is our country, and all we want is for it to be better for all of us. One of the issues that Dr. Adeoye mentioned earlier was about power and what some state governments are doing, to address that. And whether you like it or not, power deficit is a major challenge, particularly for local manufacturing, micro, small and medium enterprises having to deal with power issues, and it affects, of course, their bottom line in terms of, their cost of production and what they make of it. What exactly is the federal government doing more to ensure that, this power issue is addressed? because it is critical for economic growth.
All right, thank you very much. I think, you know, in the year 2025, well, two things happened. Let me quickly use this opportunity. In 2025 was the year where we saw a reduction in inflation across the board. Of course, food prices decreased, and many of the farmers were complaining because, you know, food prices decreased, and they complained about importation of rice and I think maize. I think those two were important. The rest was, but what we saw was that 2023, 24, and 25, we had bumper harvest across the farms. As a matter of fact, you know, right now there's still some, I saw online several farms that were harvesting their cassava or even just leaving them on the farm, and I felt sad because Nigeria is the biggest producer of cassava in the world. I thought that ethanol, you know, producers, you should be harnessing that, and even those who produce the powder they use for pharmaceutical, for tablets and so on. You know, but that said, about power sector, in that same 2025. Nigeria imported 435 billion naira worth of solar panels, and we also exported about 70 billion naira worth of solar to some of the West African countries, and even I thought that one went to Europe. Yeah, so I see that there's a transformation going on in that power sector. The future of power, the future of electricity power is sustainable, is green, is solar. Luckily, Nigeria is sitting on the best area for solar panel in the world. I don't know, and I think that we should take note of that. That where we are across the equator, this is where we're getting the most solar radiation in the world. We're getting the most. We should actually get to the point where no ray of sun will go unused in this world. I mean, in this country, no ray of sun. Everything be converted to power, and that's where we're moving to. So the federal government is encouraging solar. A lot of the 435 billion naira is importation by federal government, especially under the Rural Electrification Agency. They're deploying, and like Dr. Adeoye said, the rural areas will be sorted with solar and you know, these inverters and so on. That is what will solve the problem at that level. The grid is compromised. The grid has been around. When the British were going, whatever they left for us, is either we couldn't handle it, or they also they lost interest in those things, and we saw a scenario where things just kept going down. From the days of the Electricity Company of Nigeria to NEPA to PHCN, now to TCN and DISCOs and GENCOs, we've been seeing a lot of challenges in most part of Nigeria. Infrastructure is compromised. A lot of it is outdated and not well maintained, and there's been a lot of sabotage of the infrastructure of this country, meaning that the idea of national grid is coming under serious jeopardy. The idea that we're going to bring power from Osogbo and distribute to the whole of Nigeria or from Kanji and so on, you know, is becoming a lot less manageable because we're seeing failures. And you cannot continue to fail Nigerians. So therefore, the impact of sustainables is what we're hoping for next. And that has already begun to happen. So, of course, private people have also imported a lot of solar power. This will solve problems for small businesses, for businesses that don't need huge energy, maybe like the barbing salon, the hairdresser and co, can be sorted on the basis of solar. And that initial investment can also be subsidized. For those who want, you can always visit the website of REA and approach them and see what kind of package they have that can solve your problem. The state governors are also very much involved in some of that. I'm aware that Ondo State Governor, they are doing quite a bit in terms of solar. If you went to Ondo State now, you see a lot of the streets lighted up, and they're also encouraging people to go down that route. The future of energy, like I said again, in Nigeria will be solar, because we happen to be very lucky to be sitting on where you have the highest solar radiation in the world. The last time I traveled to the UK, right from the airport in Heathrow, I saw advertisements where they put there, say, if you want solar in your house, come and approach government, we're going to subsidize it. And I said, this is the UK where you have raining 80% of the time. If they can do it, that means that Nigeria has a great advantage.
Before I move to Dr. Oguye, Mr. Fashua, is there something you can tell us about the reported Aso Rock moving, from the national grid to solar?
Absolutely, absolutely. The energy bill of Aso Villa would be in the region of maybe 20 billion every year, or something that's ridiculous for that they used to pay to these schools. Now the Aso Villa said, look, we need to walk away from this. What are we doing with our carports and all of those things, and even the Aso Villa clinic and so on? And the Aso Villa moved, and I've been seeing criticisms from people say, oh, Tinubu has removed himself, when you should be actually telling governments to assist you and in your businesses, in that way, because that is the future of energy. Everybody, even the White House in America has a solar panel there. Everybody should be thinking of efficiency. I see that a lot of our people are still stuck in the idea of I must get energy, I must get electricity from the grid. It's not necessarily so. Innovation is a constant thing in life. And listen, in the year 1999, when General Salam finished his tenure in Nigeria and handed over to the politician, he went back to Mina. And he built his house, his own mansion next to General IBB, and he powered it with solar at that time. And he spent, according to Ovation magazine that time, he spent about 7 million naira, which was a ridiculous amount of money, there maybe $700,000 equivalent at that time. Do you know that what he generated then today, if you have 20 million naira, you will generate the same thing? The price of solar has crashed in the last 10 years by 90%. So it's just waiting for us. It's just like the GSM story. When we were going to go on GSM, we had only 440,000 landlines in Nigeria. And Vodafone was approached to come into Nigeria to produce GSM. Vodafone was the biggest phone company. They commissioned one of the big 4 consulting firms who came to Nigeria and said, no, these people cannot pay for this solar, they cannot pay for GSM, that we cannot have more than 1 million GSM numbers in Nigeria. Vodafone did not come to Nigeria. MTN and Co came. Today, we have 200 million mobile phones in Nigeria. We have one of the densest telephony in the world. In fact, the phone that we have in this country in terms of numbers and usage, they don't have it in Europe. So this is also another opportunity waiting for us on the electricity. I believe that Nigeria will be lighted up big time. Okay, it's going to be a combination of everything, but perhaps the grid will be deployed to assist our industries and the big users. They need the grid, but everybody else should look at, yeah.
As you have pointed out, to have solar installed, you need some good money, and I'm sure you know that the average Nigerian, to be able to gather such money, is this something that the federal government will be willing to invest in too for Nigerians? And while we also will be asking the state governments also to look at that, is this something that the federal, because the average Nigerian is not able to install solar panels or with inverters.
You are very correct.
Homes.
The two things is happening. Yes, you are very correct. Two things are happening. Number one is that the cost of solar is crashing. China alone is producing 2 times of the world's need. In fact, 2 times of the world's annual need is what they produce in China alone. But we also have local companies here that are producing, there's one called Levin by Nzanogbe, that are producing solar panels, and they're also exporting some of those. You heard what I said earlier on, 70 billion export, 435 billion import of solar alone in Nigeria in 2025. And it's still going on. It's getting more efficient. It's getting cheaper, and of course we have a scheme that's also developing at REA along the lines of what I mentioned that they're doing in the UK, where even households can approach government and get their solar panels done and maybe pay over time or something of that sort. States are also encouraged to do that, and I mentioned that Ondo State and a few other states are already doing that, and I say that that's the future of energy. In the north of Nigeria, even in a state like, I think it was Katsina or Jigawa State, that there's a certain solar field, and that these solar fields that are coming up in different parts of the country. So we're going in that direction. Everybody is taking themselves out, and because we have that advantage that we have good solar radiation in Nigeria, I see that to be our next solution. It's going to happen just the way GSM happened. They thought we couldn't do it. Now we're there. MTN is making 40% of its profits in this country for the last how many years and so on. And I think that this solar, as it's getting better and so on, is the way forward for this country. Right. So again, you in the media, you can also encourage the government and the state, local government. Now that local governments are getting their money, remember that the ratio of roads in this country, 18% belongs to federal, another 20% belongs to state, the rest is local government.
Yeah.
In the same vein, some of this kind of responsibility, the local government is where people live. A lot of the money, some of the local governments are getting 500 million every month, some up to $1 billion every month, the big ones in Kano, in Lagos and co. You know, we need to actually pursue them and be sure what they're using that money for. They are the ones that should be put under pressure to begin to solve this problem from the ground up.
Right. And if I come to you, Dr. Adeoye, you know, a lot has been said. You know, Yomi pointed out that, you know, I mean, a lot of Nigerians, well, majority, may not be able to afford these solar systems that, you know, run into at least 1.1 million, 1.5, depending on what you want to do, because it's not just the panels. It comes with the inverters and all the systems that come with it. But with the fact that we say that, you know, the federal government is willing to help out with some of these infrastructure, what kind of advocacy do you think the government needs to do? Because enough people may not know about it for them to plug in. Where do people need to go? How can they access these funds, these fundings, to be able to use solar to power their homes and, you know, some businesses as well?
Okay. Number one, let me address the issue of increase in price that my friend mentioned, that the whole country is the seller's market. No, I do not agree with that. So what the government needs to do to move from seller's market to buyer's market is to open the economy, provide the same level playing ground for businesses so that there can be competition. What you see in Canada, US, and UK, why you get cheaper prices of product in various sectors, is because there are many people that are involved in business activities. So if you want to get an iPhone and the price is too high for you, you go for Samsung. And you are looking for internet package, and then this company is giving you a particular price, then you go to T-Mobile. So if you look at the real estate situation in Lagos today, a client of ours wanted to purchase property at Ikeja GRA. He saw one at a given price, and then while we were pleading with them to accept his offer, the owner declined. This guy moved to about 3 or 4 streets away and found a better property at a cheaper price. And then he went for that and paid. By the time the owner got back to us and was willing to accept that price, the guy has paid somewhere else. So open the economy, allow the same level playing ground, and then you will see competition and prices will crash. Now we have lithium, uranium, and so on in the northern part of Nigeria. What government needs to do is to give more leverage to entities. I had the president mention the other day that, look, don't take these minerals from Nigeria and then you go to manufacture battery elsewhere. Do the battery in our country so that prices can go down. Now, intervention funding need to be put in place at the Bank of Industry, and then these facilities need to trickle down to microfinance bank, mortgage banks, such that every Nigerian, with or without collateral, will have access to batteries, solar panel, and inverter. Remember, the batteries, the inverter, and the solar panel, they are the asset that you are going to get. So that should be enough as collateral for you. So what government should do is to say, look, before we even share the allocation every month, we're sharing about 1.2 trillion every month. Take 120 billion out of it, that's 10%, send it to the Bank of Industry, divide it into 6. We have 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Southwest take 20 billion, South 20 billion, Southeast, North Central, Northeast, and Northwest. And then this money you now distribute across commercial bank and microfinance bank. Now, there are so many bottlenecks to get facility in the commercial bank. So you bring down to even some fintech too and say, look, solar panel, battery, and inverter for all houses. You cannot afford it, just come over here. And then you subsidize at the federal government level by ensuring that the rate is single digit. When that happens, personally, I have a project that I wanted to install solar panel and inverter. One, they gave me a bill of 90-something million, another 50-something million. Even at my level for business, where I'm a director, I had to pause a little. I was spending a lot on diesel. Now, this is practical. Now, before you now talk about poor, extremely poor people who cannot even afford, to buy petrol and diesel. So if you say, look, we're giving everybody, all household, in certain places, solar panel, battery, and inverter. 10% of the money that goes to state government, we've taken it out from the federation account. We've sent them to Bank of Industry. The Bank of Industry has distributed it down the line. So you go to microfinance bank around you, get your solar panel, get your inverter and the battery, and the installers. So you see job created, the installers will be trained, and then there will be activity. So you have a salon, you have a barber shop, you have small businesses, you're selling soft drinks somewhere. You know that power will no longer be a problem. And by the way, these people, they don't consume much power. Because when I look at the people that lived in my parents' house in the village, I noticed that in the 6 rooms apartment, not all of them have freezer. Maybe only 1 or 2 people have a refrigerator. They do not even have some of the equipment that we have in our various houses. Therefore, solar is just ideal for people at the lower cadre. For industrial, energy, then you talk of gas, piping gas to everybody into the clusters, such that people who are producing will also not increase their prices. So when you pipe gas to them, power plants can then be purchased, and every factory will be able to function effectively. So urgently, intervention fund through Bank of Industry should be provided. And government should not say, oh, we don't have money. Take 10% from FAC before it is distributed and say, look, we are not spending this money at the federal level. We are giving it to Bank of Industry, single digit. You can even say 6%. You can say 5%. Power every household that require this energy. And of course, people were making comment that the president, the Aso Villa, is now on solar. Let me use the popular language in the society. If president can go solar, who you be? So that's leading by example, saying that, look, this cost is too much. And it means that the president and the villa, they are accepting that the cost of energy is too much. Whether you are buying diesel or you are even paying to the Genco and Disco, whosoever. So solar, green energy is the best way. There is a place we went to in Baltimore in 2012. The entire place is powered by solar. Very close to one tractor company there when we went for agri conference. So we can do it if we make up our mind, but credit must be made available to people. The commercial banks, they are inflating the price because they want to add their interest. The supplier wants to put the profit. What should have cost you 10 million? You end up paying 18 million. So this is the challenge, and federal government need to step in. And state government can do same too through their credit system that they have in their respective states.
All right, thank you. We are winding down now, Mr. Fasua. You'll agree with me that Nigeria, when it comes to revenue, we are still very heavy on dependence on oil, despite having a large and vibrant multi-sector economy. How can we ensure that, production in Nigeria will ramp it up instead of us having to look for foreign currencies to do importation? How can we strengthen our local production, manufacturing here?
Well, thank you very much. You've asked a very important question around our revenue, that you linked it to production. I wanted to quickly respond to Dr. Adeoye on my assertion on sellers market and sellers inflation. I mean, the point is that the sellers market is a scenario where the seller dictates what goes on. He mentioned the case of the property, is Fred wanted to buy. That is outside of the seller's market. Indeed, it depends on the situation of the market at that time, but when you're talking about the whole property, you can actually wait and sample the market and so on. The real seller's market is what I mentioned: food, shelter in terms of rental, especially transportation. You want to come from Yanya to town, is whatever the boss man tells you is taking, and that's where we need to actually focus on for our people, in this country, to say, okay, you know what, how can we make life easier? There's a certain professor, in the US who did some, Isabella Mayer, I think that's her name, who did some work on that sellers market in 2023 2024. Especially in 2022, when there was a global inflation crisis where inflation in the US and Europe got to as high as 11%, things that they hadn't seen since the Second World War ended. And she said that she realized that a lot of the inflation in the US was as a result of companies trying to meet their profit target, especially on fast-moving consumer goods like cornflakes, like milk, and so on. They wanted to meet their target, and so they set the price in order to meet it, and the people don't have a choice, they have to buy milk. So that's our challenge in this country. We haven't been able to develop the infrastructure that the US has, but that doesn't mean that we will not try.
Mr.
Things like consumer protection is also one of the issues. But yes, let me quickly mention the issue of revenue. The truth is that what you said actually is a fallacy. Most of our revenue in this country comes from internal sources, but most of our foreign exchange comes from crude oil. Most of the foreign exchange that's available to the federal government to manage the naira comes from crude oil. And most of that, when you see the crude oil that we sell, like I said, 60%, 65% of the money belongs to international oil companies. Sometimes the CBN will say, you can't bring that money back, we want to manage our naira. Sometimes the CBN will say, don't worry, when you sell, take your money and go. It's an illusion. It's an illusion, but majority of the revenue that we make comes from internal sources. The most important revenue source in this country go to NRS, whether in terms of VAT collection, in terms of company income tax, even petroleum profit tax and what have you. That is where the real money comes from in this country. NRS, not the crude oil sales, because most of it is not ours. So in terms of productivity, it's already beginning to improve, especially with the reform on the naira, okay? Productivity is improving. Many people are buying local. Many local companies are doing well. Go to Aba, go to Ariara, go and see what those guys are manufacturing. I bought a belt on Broad Street about 6 years ago. It's supposed to be a Ferragamo belt. I bought it for 4,000, 6,000 naira. I still use that belt today. It's what I use almost every day. So Nigerians are now forced, quote and unquote, to purchase local, and local companies are also producing more. And we can see that also beginning to impact even our educational sector, with Coventry University coming to Nigeria, Birmingham working with Unilag, Rugby School is in Lagos, Eco Atlantic, Charterhouse is in Lekki, King's College is working with the Abuja Center of Medical Excellence here. We're seeing things beginning to improve and turn around in Nigeria. Give it a year, give it 2 years, you'll be shocked where we will be. But of course, there'll still be poor people, but we cannot always front with the bad news all the time. We have to also acknowledge that some things are improving for a lot of people in this country. Thank you for the platform.
And indeed, it is that improvement, as I said earlier, that Nigerians are looking forward to. Dr. Adeoye, quickly, let me have your final thoughts on the program this morning. What do we need to do to ramp up our economy?
Well, the government needs to be sincere, and the people also need to be sincere with ourselves. Credit system need to be improved upon. When people have credit at single digits, they'll be able to do what they will ordinarily not be able to do. And then we need to reduce the cost of governance so that more money can be available for infrastructure. States will do a lot better if they can reduce their cost of governance. I think that's, just in a nutshell, what we can do.
Thank you indeed for your time this morning and your insights. Dr. Olugbenga Adeoye, Chartered Accountant, tax expert, international business lawyer, President Egba Economic Summit Group. Thank you indeed for your time this morning. And the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters, Mr. Tokwe Fashwa. Thank you for joining us too.
Thank you.
Right. And when we return, we'll be taking a look at yet another infrastructure issue. This time, the congestion at the Apapa Port Complex here in Lagos State and the traffic issues it has thrown up yet again. Welcome back. And once again, we're at the heart of that conversation, Apapa Port. I remember there was a time many years ago that was the dominant issue in Lagos. I think when Babatunde Raji Fashola was still the governor of Lagos State, it was an issue he had to deal with. And that time was, the trailers parking on the roads, incessant traffic along that corridor, and then, the congestion in the ports itself. So it's a critical bottleneck. It remains one, for Lagos State, that port complex, causing severe container backlogs, heavy traffic gridlocks along the port corridors, and substantial financial losses for trucks that have to park for days, wait for days before they even get into the complex or even leave the port complex. As of June 2026, that's just this month, and we're just halfway through, I believe, the resurgence of traffic issues has been fueled by a combination of global shipping shifts, and once again, the Middle East crisis is affecting Nigeria in many ways. We've talked about how it's affecting Nigeria, and such as the Middle East maritime crisis and ongoing localized logistical failures. And so we're going to talk about that this morning. And joining us in the studio is Bello Babatunde, Chairman, Amalgamation of Container Truck Owners Association of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Program.
Thank you for
having me. And we also
me.
have online Professor Samuel Odewumi, Acting Vice Chancellor, University of Uyo, former Dean, School of Transport and Logistics, Lagos State University. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Right. So, if I could start with you, Professor Odewumi, it's often argued that the electronic call-up system at the ports is technically sound, but truck drivers claim it remains heavily compromised by extortion. Walk us through a standard journey, in a week, when you were, in that line here in Lagos State. What the experiences, that happened at the port complex, and what usually causes, the gridlock there, such that, both the Nigerians that are trying to get their goods out, the agencies that are trying to sort out the trucks, and of course the truck owners and other stakeholders in that sector, such that they have a horrible time trying to make sense of, the gridlock at the ports.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, you permit me to commend the channel for staying on this issue of security, which you discussed this morning. It's very important for this nation. But one point that is off the glare of the public, which we must put out there so that Nigerians will know what we are into. The collapse of Libya and the entire collapse of the Middle Belt Sahelian region, that is Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, now has opened the entire Nigerian space from the north to meet me. Thousands and thousands of these bandits, they are coming down. There is no, when we have military coup in those countries, we thought that military will be able to stem the influx, but unfortunately those governments are weak. In fact, Mali, as we speak, is almost 70% overrun. So I want the media and Nigeria to know that the recent insurgents may not necessarily be related to politics. Politics may be part of it, but we are in real deep bad situation. If we realize that about 3 or 4 countries are collapsing that were shielding us from these marauders, so we know that we have to do things differently, and that's why the issue of state police and giving military-grade weapons to the Amatekuns and all these vigilante is critical. So please, that's by the way, because I'm a transport person, and transport and safety, they are Siamese twins. You cannot separate one from the other. Now to your point, you will recall that when Amechi was the Minister of Transport, he came to Lagos, tried to clear the thing because the president was coming, and the place was cleared. And he now said later, because a day or two after the president left, they returned, the extortionists. Because the major problem is not technology, it is human. Because the technology, all of us were rejoicing when the to call up was crafted. We believe that will be the panacea. But of course, behind that masquerade of a toe is a bigger masquerade of human beings that are manipulating the system behind in the background. So Amechi said the only person that can deal with these people is the president, because he himself did all he could do. I recall also that in May, just last month, the DG of the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Committee, Princess Audu, came with his all the agencies, all the armed forces to clear the illegal points just in May, just this May. But a week later, those people still return. And also, I want you to recall there was a young man, Adekoya, that has been fighting this thing, and that is what even shocked me, because he now said on another station about a week ago or 2 weeks ago that extortion has come to stay. And honestly, to me, that is a red line, that somebody like that is committed to removing this problem has come on national television, not just even in a state television, and international television, to say that extortion has stayed, means he is already getting discouraged. And the DG, so what do I do before I drop the mic? Is that I want to call out some series of people. We cannot allow the people that are fighting. The DG should not surrender. Adekoya and his co-group, that young man, should not give up. So I call out on Mr. President that it is now, because your economy effort will not come to fruition unless you open up the throat through which the food goes into Nigeria economy. That is the main track through which we are receiving our economic group. So Mr. President should direct the IG and direct the NSA, because this is a security matter. When Dangote was threatened, NSA intervened, and the labor knew that is a no-go area for our national economy. They should make the Apapa corridor a no-go area for these urban bandits that are at this checkpoint. I will list the checkpoints later. Then I will call out on the essay to Mr. President. That is Segun Obayado, who is presently the president of Chartered Institute of Transport Administration, that he should speak to Mr. President, and they should find a way to deal with this extortion. Because just a week after Adekoya said extortion has come to stay, I was shocked when I now saw real container at Eleganza and at this roundabout junction with police insignia. But that is another extortion point. I learned that it was established by the Nigerian Port Authority. The Nigerian Port Authority has no business being on that corridor. Let them do their business inside the port. So that is, then I want to call out also Sholagiwa, because this is our home. Lagos is a home. Who is the essay to Mr. Governor on transport. Then also, even Adekoya himself, I'm going to call him out. This is your being a home for you. It may be a point of, and Mr. Governor of Lagos State, it may be a point of making money for so many people. But for you, Giwa and Mr. Governor, this is a home. You will not allow, just because they want to make money, disrupt the lives of Lagosians and make that corridor that used to be a total green law. But having spent so much, we should be able to enjoy that area. So extension points, Eleganza Junction, Mr. Biggs, these are well known and well established. The police container is there, but those police are likely to be from the port. So they should be asked to vacate that place, and the sanity should be brought back. We will not stop fighting this menace, because it is a war that is being fought, but there's too much money at stake. That is why it's difficult. But with media like Channel, with people like Adekoya, with the presidential Audu, we can, and I'm calling out on all academics to speak out against this thing. In our seminars, in our conferences, we should speak it out. I'm calling on Amato, I'm calling on NATO. Let us come together to save our members who are being extorted. Average of 4,000 is being taken from a trailer or a truck, and with about 5,000, with about 4,000 people daily plying that route. That is almost about 20 million daily that some people are cashing. So it's not going to be an easy fight. So I will stop there for now and take it up when you ask me other questions later.
Indeed, I've called out a whole lot of people, and we'll be hoping that we'll get responses from some of these people as to what's going on in that area. But Mr. Babatunde, you are the chairman of the Amalgamation of Container Truck Owners Association of Nigeria, and I know that when you mention Apapa in Lagos, people will associate it with traffic. We know that's the port where a lot of goods come into the country, but tell us what exactly the situation is there, since you are directly impacted.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank Prof for that in-depth analysis. As we have it today, I would say Apapa with the call-up system, it is an extortion designed corridor now. Apapa is an extortion, Apapa and Tinkan with the call-up system is an extortion design corridor.
So before you go on, the call-up system is to ease the congestion.
Yes.
So that you know that when you have your own path, then this is your own time. So you don't have to stay on that road.
Yes.
And it is well-meaning,
yes.
I would believe. So how and where did extortion come in?
So by right, it's supposed to be a system designed to stay without human interference. Everything should be digital. But as we have it now, it is not. We still have multiple checkpoints within the corridor of the port. So for every kilometer to the port, there is an unofficial taxation from state actors and non-state actors using the same call-up system that is supposed to bring solution to decongest the bottleneck that we have for trucks trying to access into the port. They are now using it as what I call transactional captivity for we truck owners, because when you have all your call-up papers, you will still have to pay.
All right, could you speak to the the video? What's happening? What was happening here? It's an amateur video.
Okay, so that's the Apapa Port complex, and right there, that is a container of maybe police and MPA officials doing what? Nothing, to check papers when this thing is supposed to be fully digital. And from there, they start to ask drivers, bring this amount, bring that amount. Since the inception of the call-up system, the ETO call-up system, they have passed over 30 million trucks, I think 38 million trucks, which is equivalent of 70 billion naira. That is officially by statistics. But the one they do backdoor is triple that amount. So that tells us this system is just designed for rent seeking. It's a rent seeking scheme that keeps bringing money without solution.
You know, this is a huge allegation. And a lot of people that, you know, that you are insinuating are involved in this.
Yes.
They have time for their own say, because if you are saying this and they will come and tell us that, you know, they're just there to ensure that there's law and order, how do you marry that?
I mean, this is out there. I have videos where, I mean, it's been shown online and on TV where these people that are supposed to guide the truck to access the port, you know, where we have their camp boys, they call them camp boys, to collect this money and keep for them, and after the day, they go to share. That's why I said the Apapa ecosystem, as we have it, and Tinkan, is extortion.
Does this not mean
design.
that you've some of your people too are complicit?
Yes.
Because
yes. Yes.
And what investigations have you done to know those who are behind?
So the problem does not only rely on truck owners. It's the system. When the system is designed to bring solution, but you made it so cumbersome for ordinary truck owners, especially these truck drivers that are working under this harsh condition already. My own personal truck took me 15 days, 15 good days, to drop an export laden container. Export that is supposed to generate revenue for the economy. 15 working days to drop it. And guess what? When we got to the port, after all documentation, customs are still asking for money in Tinkan. So it's...
Sorry, if you say 15 days, are you saying the travel time or the time spent just trying to get into the port?
The time from the port, so there is a port park very close to the port, just some few minutes drive to the port, which shouldn't take him 30 minutes to get into the port. But they come up with, oh, you have to wait, your name has to be on a certain manifest that will never come out. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is...
That's supposed to be part of the process to ensure that, you know, the Apapa Road is not littered with heavy-duty trucks.
So that's what I'm saying. If that is the point, then we shouldn't have people on the road mounting checkpoints, collecting unofficial money. Everything should be digitalized. If I have my call-up and my truck is ready to go, nobody should stop my truck from entering the port. But these guys, they are all over Apapa Port Corridor and Tinkan Port Corridor collecting illegal fees. So that is what I have been agitating.
Can you substantiate this claim? Have you made any reports of this claim to any of the authorities? What has been done about it?
I mean, we've been on it for a very long time. This, I have said it severally, that this is the main cause of bottleneck, because now the bottleneck is like a product that they sell that truckers have to buy, because the delay gives them money. I'm talking about customs, I'm talking about Nigerian Port Authority, I'm talking about LASTMA. I'm not, you know, there's a coalition of all these security agencies working together. So we don't want them by the court corridor. If the system is digitalized and shouldn't be without human interference, let it be. That's why I've always been agitating. We need a transparency commission, some sort of port anti-corruption agency, monitoring agency. I mean, the president should look into this, because it's becoming something else. We cannot go into the port, drop our containers without having to bribe, because the system they build is not meant for, you know, the 100% process that is supposed to be.
Right, be careful there because you're about to indict yourself on bribery. But walk us through a typical day or a typical week with the standard system. How the system is supposed to operate digitally. You have a call-up number or so.
Yes.
There's a park, and then you get to the port gates, and what checks are done when you get to the gates?
So you download the Eto app, put in your truck number, the container number you're trying to get. Then from there, you go to the satellite park. From the satellite park, you go to the transit park. Now, this is where all the problems lies. If I have a container to pick at the port, from wherever park that I am, it might be my own private park, let me do the call-up from there. Don't let me go to one park, second park, then third park before I get into the port. This is where the system is porous, and we've talked to them severally, and still we don't have any solution.
Or maybe it depends on the distance of your own park, for instance, to the port. Maybe that's why that system is there, that, okay, you need to move from point A to B to C before you are able to get into the port.
So every truck owner knows that before you get into the port, you have to enter a park close to the port. They know all these parks. You understand? So they said these parks must be registered under their platform, which is the Eto platform, right? Which everybody has done.
Yes.
But don't make it hard for truck owners to get into the port. Now, for example, when you're on the platform, they will schedule you for a day to go into the port.
Right.
Now, they also give undue advantage to some people to get into the port before others. This system they created should be a fair system. First in, first out. But again, they put some elements, corrupt elements there that says a particular truck that got around the park can go into the port in 30 minutes. Why some wait 10 days, they can't get into the port. They know these things. These are the issues we have, we've had stakeholders meeting, we've narrated these things. They don't just listen to take all these checkpoints away from the road.
I guess these are some of the issues that the Nigeria Ports Authority will be looking into. But in the meantime, as you have painted this chaos, is this something that the truck owners would want to explore, like maybe another source of having to ferry this containers to the ports, like the rail or the barge system? Because we understand also that maybe some of your guys don't want that because it's going to take out the market for them.
The rail is a good one to decongest the port, and the way the port operation works, even if the rail takes the containers to lighter terminals, you still need truck to transport them to the final destination or the warehouse. And so the responsibility or the functionality of the rail is still limited. It can only take from the port close to the lighter terminal where these containers will be dropped. So trucking is still very important. Truck will still have to take it to the final destination. We've also they use the badging system. The rail system is still functional, but I think the truck does most of the movement from the port terminal to final destination or lighter terminals.
Prof, let me come to you. The multimodal transport system that is on paper, how can we bring it to reality to ensure that some of these bottlenecks are taken care of?
Thank you. You asked a question that I would have loved my younger person in the house to mention clearly how it is done. You see, the Eto was what we all celebrated. That is that call-up system. But what happened is that it is already now rigged. Rigged in two ways. One, there are people with fake, no, not fake, they just have a whole plate numbers in order to secure fake color, because it is a plate number that is tied to the call-up system. So some people just were able to register so many numbers that they are able to just come in anytime, and one of them will get in. Another way is by priority. For some understandable reasons, there is in that application, there is a room for prioritization of certain vehicle. Maybe it is military vehicle, matter or something, that they will be given some priority. Now, this is now being abused for whatever pecuniary cases, and the Nigerian Port Authority is at the center of it, I must say. And again, I will add one person to the call out. Olaleko Badmus, who is in charge of maritime and operations, is the one to see to the smooth running of all of this system. And until we clean it, because it's supposed to be operating, but in Yoruba we say, when you give a moment to somebody without teeth, it looks like it's a bone. Now, when Nigerian operates a software system, now Nigerianness comes into modification of that app in order for us to do what we want to do, because there is no app that does not have back-end control. It is the back-end control that is usually abused in fake number. Many people have those, not fake plate number, just some plate numbers that they have, which they register for call-ups. Then there is the prioritization. Then there is even the circumventing, because the computer cannot do more than the programmer himself. That is that. So we need to call this out. And what you see, let me say this: the reason why the problem is problematic is that the fact. Jews, the corruption. I mentioned that you are talking about around 20 million naira per day, if not more than that. Therefore, it's like putting a yam down. If you flog a goat and it goes away, if you do not stay there with your whip, so that anytime it will return. Because the reward for the corruption in that system, it is the enforcement and the government that we have to continue to work at it. And that is why it is not something that you will say like the DG of Business Environment Improving Promotion, Princess Aidu came once in a month. It has to be a consistent, continuous enforcement of that clear corridor. In the last year, I called out Amechi, well, that was even before he left. I called him out. I called out Governor Sanwo-Olu that, yes, please, that they should do something. Let me quickly land on it. But they've done a bit. But the one that is left, and which we must all stay on consistently, because the reward for the corruption in the corridor is so high. That's the point. We must work on the software backend and work on enforcement. Regular, constant, forever, perennial.
I asked the question earlier about transitioning from to a multimodal transport system. Quickly, we have less than 2 minutes. How do you think we can fast track this?
Definitely. Our best bet now is the rail. And Comrade Okweva is doing all he could. You see, because if you can load your matter on the rail, it will be easy. That is for the import. And if we can allow the rail to bring the goods in, but that will happen only from those who load the rail from up country to take it straight into the port, in which case there will be no toll gate along Apapa, there will be no Eleganza, there will be no Tisalat, there will be no under the bridge. So the rail is our best bet and easy pick now. There are batches that you can batch to the right, to the east of Lagos, and batch to the west towards Badagry. That is the mean. But our best bet that can help everybody, but because the rail is rigid, it cannot. There are areas that it cannot approach that we still have to use the trucks. So, but as you are right, multimodal, especially the rail and the batches.
Okay, your final word. We are really winding down now. What would you want done? You've said a lot. Just quickly, while we check.
So I would advise that the authorities, the Nigerian Port Authority, should fully digitalize the call-up system, whereby all trucks should be on FRID. As they are getting to the port gate, the barrier can identify that, yes, this truck is welcome into the port, and the barrier will open. All checkpoints should be off so that truckers can breathe fresh air.
Right. Right, and you know, staying with that issue, we have comments from some of our viewers. I'm not sure who sent this in, but he said police and NPA management are contributing significantly to traffic congestion at Apapa and Tinkan. All the analyses offered by the prof and the guests in the studio are very correct and valid. Transporters are facing a lot in the hands of police personnel and NPA security daily in the name of ETO or ETO call-up system. I think it's ETO, that ETO call-up system. Is that the system is deliberately made cumbersome to enable NPA security and the police personnel generate illegal revenue into their individual pockets. Baba Loka also, I think.
Yes, Baba Loka. Yes. It's just, I think, just trying to buttress what they're saying. But all of this are, you know, some allegations that the people concerned would need to, you know, speak to at the right time too. Thank you indeed for your time this morning on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
We've been having a chat with Professor Samuel Odewumi, the acting Vice Chancellor, University of Uyo, who was a former Dean, School of Transport and Logistics, Lagos State University. And here in the studio is the Chairman, Amalgamation of Container Truck Owners Association of Nigeria, Mr. Bello Babatunde. Thank you.
Thank you very much
for your time.
Thank you. And when we return, we bring you our artists of the week. You have to wait to know the person.
He joins us.
At least say he. Very scary stuff. Come on.
May Sakpa not stay with us and live with us.
Come on, start going.
I guess you already know who our guest is. He's a graduate of psychology from the Obafemi Awolowo University, but of course he graduated into skits and movie making and all of that. So welcome, Woli Arole.
Thank you so much.
But his name, let me give you his name. Bayegu Oluwatoyin. Not many people know that one. No?
Yes, a lot of people don't.
When you just say Woli Arole.
So that sticks. I hear that a lot.
God bless you.
Thank you, man.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Welcome on the show.
Amen. Thank you.
So sometimes I find it. The other day, I knew that you were ordained.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a prophet or
yes.
A prophet?
Is it a prophet?
But I don't know how to, you know, separate you from, because every time I see you, I still see the comedy. So I do not know which one is the real prophet and which one is the comedy prophet.
So actually, I hear this a lot of time. People ask me, even a few days ago. So it's just because people are used to me, you know, being the guy that makes them happy, makes them laugh. And it also helps my ministry as well. So I can also put prayers, because at the end of the day, like the content you just watched is just something very simple. You pray for somebody, the spirit left, and you didn't tell the spirit where to go. It's to tell you that there should be consciousness when you are communicating with people. But now, presently, I'm into full-time ministry, and comedy era is gone. We're in another new phase.
Oh wow! Comedy era is gone.
Oh, yes, wow. I don't. I'm focused. In fact, as I was coming, I'm coming from the mountain. We had a prayer. We had a mountain prayer.
I saw your video online. I was
Anu, the one in Ojo. Yes, you follow it, yes.
Yes, and I was wondering, I said, I still couldn't understand it. When I saw it, I said, okay, I was going to see part 2 of these skits, but it's real.
It's real now, because immediately I got ordained, that phase of me being a priest unfolded properly, because that's the proper way of entering into priesthood.
But you know, well, come see, come say. I once had a pastor, you know, I'm still friendly with the person, but anytime he's preaching on the pulpit, we probably laugh from the beginning of service to the end.
Of course.
And he's not a comedian.
Oh, yes.
So I can imagine you. That's
even on the mountain yesterday, half of the sermon, people were laughing.
Yes, that's it. So you
half of it, because that's what happened.
How did you transition from the comedy Woli or prophet to the real Woli? What happened? How did you get the call?
So I've been born a real prophet, established. I've been seeing visions. I hear God's voice since I was a teenager, since I was a child. Kudos to my mom that brought me to that reality quickly, because I'll just see stuff, I'll tell her, I saw this thing, I feel this thing. I will say stuff, it happened. So my mom brought me that you were born, you have been prophesied, that a child is going to come from our family, that will be a global person and is going to be a prophet. So a prophet that prophesied that Baba Lowe is late now, the CSA man. So the journey started, but there are people like myself that have multiple giftings. So at times, one comes out first, before the other now comes out. So when the time of transitioning came, it was smooth for me, because even when I was doing comedy, that same prophet, so the name in comedy was Woli, Arole. So the name in ministry is just like the same person, but the garment has changed.
Right, but how did people react? You know, you said from when you were quite young.
Yeah.
How did people around you react to the fact that you see visions? If you see scary things about people, how do you, I don't know, relate to them?
So when I first started, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
For real. Because I just tell my guy friend from school, I mean one of Tola by me, I say, Tola, don't take bike tomorrow. If you take bike, you might get knocked down. Tola takes bike, he gets knocked down. So, you know, people around me were Tony, you know, that's my name from Tony, and I was very playful, so I had people come around.
They'll think it's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. So the second time, even my mom, that's my mom. I just say, Grandma, don't do this thing. If you do this thing, we won't smile. I say, Mama, so you should come, the whole house. So gradually, so then people started gravitating towards it. Then I was getting the consciousness. So after the consciousness come the consecration part, where you now walk this part that God, you gave me this thing. How does it function? Because it can be crude. And that's the risky part. It can be crude. So I went through refining process. I had mentors. I stayed with Pastor Ayo, my spiritual father, brought me to that consciousness. This is how it must be used, because it can be used to destroy even yourself, the carrier of the gift. If it's not well done, you can say stuff, negative stuff, and it happens to people, and that's not the essence.
In fact, that's the part of it I want to know. I hope it's not only negative stuff that you see.
No, it's good stuff.
Bam.
So even and this is where the correction comes. Even if a prophet sees negative stuff, the agenda is God reveals to redeem. So if I see something, my sin is so that I can intercede so that it does not come to pass. Do you understand? So God gives you the chance to see for people, what is that I'm saying about this person? Oh, this person, Father, what can be done to this person that this thing? So even when the negative thing is revealed to us, it's not revealed so that we can just say this. No, it's that we can go in place of prayer. At times we see, we don't say, and say, God, this thing I've seen, and we've had massive testimonies from things like that.
And I'm okay. I'm sure you have heard of false prophets.
Oh yes.
They are seeing all sorts, but they are not seeing anything. They say things just by, and you're a psychologist, okay?
Yeah, right.
So some people just calculate it and say this is what will happen.
Yeah.
So how are we to know?
To know. Mom, this question, God bless you for this question. Do you know that the prophetic, as powerful as it is, has ruined a lot of lives if care is not taken? And God bless you. And that's one of the issues a lot of people had with this prophetic thing. So number one is people themselves must have what I call discernment. You understand? Discernment is that inner witness within your spirit to know that this person is either false or real. Secondly, There's something called the litmus test of the prophetic. It must be in alignment with the word of God. Please. Any prophet that is telling you anything outside of God is risky. For example, you can't tell me a prophet is telling you that this your wife you have at home, with this wife you have going to marry another wife. There's no, there must be
alignment with the spirit.
There must be you can't tell me that you are a prophet.
Because the Bible says a man and his wife, not a man and his wife.
And the people that the prophet have told them, so that's how you check. You can't tell me a prophet told you are doing what is wrong. Maybe you are doing fraud online. Maybe a boy doing fraud online. And the prophet tells you that you will have more magas. A prophet, a real prophet cannot give provision of what is illegal that you will prosper in it. So there's a check. We begin to check. We begin to check that. So is this thing really aligns with God? And I think that is the primary thing. Does it glorify God? Because people can say they're prophet, like you said, they can do mathematics, they can do psychology. It's not only prophet that sees, there are only people that have contrary spirit that see. So sin is not what makes someone a prophet alone. I said it's not. It's the authority in your mouth. The prophet that don't see, man, they don't see. But they say, thus says the Lord. And that's it. So if you don't go only by, I want to go, because people, Nigerians, a lot of people, even people abroad, they want someone that sees. Show me now. So, it's at times, it's not seeing. It's just you came with something, and the person says, this thing will be sorted, and it's sorted. So it's not, don't go by, because people too like dramas. And so these false guys gives you drama.
Right. And you were ordained by Pastor Ojoy Imade, and, great guy. So
I appreciate it. God's gift to me 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, we do know that his is a Pentecostal ministry. What kind of ministry do you have? What style of ministry do you have? Because when you have people that see and they know things and they can interpret things. From my knowledge, most times that background is from maybe CAC or maybe it's the Celestial Church, the White Garment Churches, CNS mostly. But what kind of style of ministry do you have, and how do you marry that, with your comedic background? How do you preach your gospel? Let me put it that way.
I love that question. So for me, I have a very strong CAC and MFM background. So our ministry is basically apostolic.
What a combination.
Oh, yes. So that's why you see us still go to the mountain. Young people follow us. So our ministry is basically, the vision God gave us is to raise king and priest. So our own is a blend of the Pentecostal into the 21st century. So you see a prophet that sees that you have a purpose for yourself. So the fact that I've played in entertainment is an advantage for me. So we don't condemn, we believe that everyone has a purpose. So our own prophetic gives clarity to vision. For example, you see me support businesses, you see me support entertainers. So our own dimension prophetic is more creative prophet. One of my friends, John Okobi, will call me a socio-economic prophet. So I believe that as someone being a Christian, you should not just be lazy. So there's a blend of it that can carry the young people along, not forgetting the background. A prophetic blend that is beyond sin, is clarity. People have met me on the road and they say, Arole, so the prophetic is beyond, this is what you're wearing. The prophetic is also, this is what you do. I think it's strategy. There's strategy in prophecy. There's wisdom in prophecy. There's nation building in prophecy. So it's based on how far you can see, is how far you can go.
I know you are very big online too, and you see things there, and you see some Nigerians are very skeptical looking at the situation of things in the country, and they feel, some of these pastors are part of the problem, some of these religious leaders, imams, they are part of the problem. Why do you think that is so? Why do you think some people now doubt, the authenticity of what some religious leaders do or say?
Very good question, and it's been rampant presently. You see, one thing people need to know is that there's a role of God and a role of man, even in the prophetic. Trust me. If I prophesy to you that you shall be wealthy, it's not enough for you to be wealthy. There are human efforts that brings wealth. The same, and that's why a lot of people being just agitated over priests, over spiritual leader. What are they doing? You see, a nation like Nigeria, wherever human beings are involved, there are human action that must take place that God will not overrule. Because God is principled. It's the truth. The response, you can't wake up in the morning and say, Father, in the name of Jesus, I prophesy that I want to bathe. No, you take the process action of going to the bedroom. And that's why the next thing we are saying that people should get their PVC. You see, God cannot play the role of man, and man cannot play the role of God. That's it. It's this truth. If you choose by man, that means God has seen that this is what you have chosen. So God does not interface in human processes, so that you not tell that God is responsible for the human response of the process you take. It's just like giving and take out. If you want to get pregnant, a man must sleep with a woman. So the situation we have involves human being that must take human action. So we can't take the whole responsibility of what is happening in Nigeria on spiritual leaders. We can't do that because human beings are involved. And human beings will be those ones that will do that correction because God has made that provision.
And what about spiritual leaders who see political things?
Very good. That one is quite dicey because the same God that picks at 8 o'clock can change and say this thing is not picked again at 8:02. Go and check the scripture. A prophet went to tell someone that you will die. The person faced the wall and said, Father, look at what I've done. Are you get what I'm saying? Look at what I've done for you. God told that prophet, go and tell him back, he will live long. So the prophecy, let me explain something. The way the prophetic work is from like maturation to adolescence, like a child. Mature, so you give birth, is infant, that is the infancy of prophecy. Between what I say and what becomes, anything can change in that process. Your action can change it in that process.
So are you advocating that religious leaders should just in some ways stay away from such prophecies?
For safety's sake. No, Mom, this I'm saying is global, I'm telling you. Okay. That's why I see a prophet who says, this is the president, that person is not the president. For safety's sake, so for example, God shows me stuff. It's not everything God even show you, you should say. So at times, we are reveal stuff to go and intercede in place of prayer. And result we show. You see, you can want to prophesy to validate that you're a prophet. And you can miss it there. So at times God can show you to pray about it, man. That thing I've seen about my mom, I won't tell my mom. I've seen that thing about my sister. I'll just pray and that thing plays out naturally. Because God is God, man is man. As much as we hear God, God can change his mind and not inform the prophet. Because he's supreme being. Yeah. So that's why it seems that people don't have accuracy. He can choose, and he chose Saul. He removed Saul, put in David. What if somebody did not hear? Will have called somebody a prophet, man. That you chose somebody, but thank God he still listens. Samuel wanted to go and pick somebody as the next king. He said, I think this is the king. And God said, no, that's a prophet of repute. Man sees based on what you see, but God sees the heart. So even the most accurate prophet can miss it because he's not God.
We're in church already. So you are coming from comedy, doing great things, making money, and then you hear a voice say, my son, you have to go into full ministry. Did you fight it?
One of my most challenging period of my life, 100%, was when I had to transit from entertainment to ministry. Trust me, I had to anchor on the 100% voice of God for faith. I'm not kidding. If I said it was an easy journey, because my whole economy was from entertainment.
I was thinking that when you now leave comedy that is bringing money, and then you have that your beautiful wife.
Yes.
To take care of and the home.
And I must a big shout out to her. She's been very supportive in this journey, 100%. I think I wouldn't have done ministry this way I'm doing it without two support systems. My parent, that's my mom, because this my family, my spiritual fathers, and also my family. It will have been then my friends. I'm telling you sincerely. Because, doing what, gives you... I know I'm not like charged for shows, man. I know. I was at the peak of my career. I'd done a movie in my 20s. I do stuff for people. So, leaving all of... It was as if, what am I hearing? But I know this voice.
Yeah, do.
I know him. This is not his first time. He has given me accuracy that he has not failed. Can I share testimony for you? It's going to be 2 years in September. Do you know that since I've picked this call, I've not lacked? How he does it, I can't explain. He has shown that he's a great provider. Yeah. Which means that God can change a method of providing, but still provision comes. I can't explain. More doors have opened for me in the ministry. I've met more people in this ministry thing. Influence has grown in this ministry thing. And things I've achieved in ministry, Even when I was active as a comedian, I couldn't do it. So how he does it, 100% faith by his power. I'm telling you sincerely. Even me, I was scared. But when the provision started coming in, it was giving me reassurance because I needed it as well to be sure that I'm not misleading people, I'm misleading myself. It's the truth. Because if care is not taken, I can be a nuisance to people around me. Start begging people, start lying to people. So God had to show me you called me. And the signs of the prophetic is signs.
And he said, no other work except that.
So what God now gave us is God can now give you intelligence on how resources can come. For example, I do strategy by the prophetic. So business people come, I strategize for them. Myself and my team come. So I solve problems. And anytime you solve problem, provision comes.
Because that is very key.
Oh, of course.
It is very key. Meanwhile, Lawrence has a bone to pick with you.
Yes,
he sent an email.
Yes.
Listen. Say, please, I hope you know that cooking gas is 2K. That is 2,000 naira per kg.
Yes.
Now, I left my gas burning to watch comedy part of Sunrise. I forgot what I was thinking and doing. So you are owing Lawrence.
Lawrence, don't worry.
The gas money. Plus the gas.
He's watching you.
Lawrence, God bless you. I owe you something amazing.
So moving forward, looking at what Nigeria is now, what because we are afraid. Some people will say, you say let us pray again. They say, please, we don't want to pray again. That it is action that we need. What is the way forward, do you think, for this country at this crossroads?
So very deep question, very intelligent question. So it's like we're building back the wall of Jericho. When Nehemiah was building, that's the best thing I can see right now. And as we're talking, I just saw prophetically. So those that pray can't stop praying, and this is the truth. Those that are putting in human effort can't stop putting in human effort because it's going to be a collaborative thing. The Bible says faith without work is dead at the end of the day. Faith alone is also dead, man. We can't keep praying and expect things to change if there are no human action. And what are the human actions? People are talking. There's agitation. People are asking for accountability. People are getting themselves prepared for the PVC. You get what I'm saying? So these are things that will make us, the priest, make sure that because our effort can be futile if there's no corresponding action. I'm telling you, go and check God's miracle. He will tell you to do something. If you don't do it, the miracle can't come. We can pray all we can. If there is no corresponding action, nothing will change in this nation. And that is what people are saying is the truth. But doesn't mean we should not stop, because when you do your own action, God can amplify your action for a good result.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you indeed, Woli Arole, for honoring our invitation and being here. I'm sure all your fans will be missing you somehow, but don't forget to post some of those your preachings that will make them happy too online. Thank you indeed. Our guest has been Oluwatoyin Bayegun, popularly known as Woli Arole.
Yes, and for all those who left there cooking.
Thank you for
watching.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a great time this morning, and of course with your support being there for us. Thank you indeed. I am Yomi Otaigwe. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
And I'm Joke Rogers. See you next week.